Our girl is just minding her business when her grandpa drops a literal bombshell on her and ruins her mood. The grandfather casually sips his tea while dropping the most insane news imaginable on her head by demanding she get married immediately. Our protagonist is completely stunned and cannot even process what he just said as her brain short-circuits. She honestly wonders if the old man has finally gone senile from drinking too much tea. The senile grandpa trope is always classic in these stories. He reminds her he knows exactly how old she is, while showing off an old photo from when she was tiny. Grandpa just laughs it off, while our girl is basically vibrating with chaotic energy and screaming at the top of her lungs. This is not the kind of news a 20-year-old wants to hear on a regular Tuesday morning. Then he drops the real kicker by saying he is ready to pass the family company on to someone else. He sets his tea down with a calm authority that tells her he is not joking around one bit. The horror of losing her unlimited shopping budget hits her harder than anything as she watches her precious credit card fly away forever. The thought of losing her unlimited shopping budget has her shivering in pure terror as her world crumbles. She starts throwing a massive tantrum on the floor because she is just not ready for this responsibility and refuses to stop her dramatic screaming. Screaming about being too young for marriage does not seem to be working on the stubborn chairman at all. She lies there looking like a defeated potato, while her grandpa looks down at her with a knowing smirk. He knows exactly how to handle his granddaughter, and he is enjoying every single second of this chaos. Honestly fair. Our girl tries to play her trump card by reminding him she got into a prestigious university easily. Our girl tries to act like she is doing him a huge favor by offering to run the family business, instead of getting hitched like a normal bride. Grandpa does not even look at her as he brushes her off like tiny, annoying fly in the room. Now she is resorting to fake crying, but the chairman is clearly immune to her obvious crocodile tears. She stops the waterworks for a second when she realizes he is actually serious about this ultimatum he just set. Chairman Han makes it clear that his decision is final, and she better start thinking fast about her future. She is left standing there completely speechless after her grandpa lays down the law and leaves no room for her to negotiate her way out of this. She starts biting her lip because she knows her grandpa is the only one who can cut her off financially. In her head, she is already screaming because she knows she is absolutely and utterly screwed. Watch her try to find a fake husband soon. Her hand drops to the floor as she realizes her life of leisure might be coming to a sudden end. Her family runs Hanal, which is a massive traditional spinning and weaving textile business known for quality fabric. This company is not just a little shop, as it grew into the top textile enterprise in the entire country through her grandfather's dedication to excellence. They are famous for preserving tradition and ethical management, which makes their brand incredibly respected by everyone. Our girl actually put in the work and got accepted into the fashion design department at Hankook University. Aside from being a student, she has a very successful side hustle going on that keeps her busy. To the rest of the world, she is a top-tier influencer who spends her days shopping for luxury brands. Her social media is filled with aesthetic shots of her lounging in high-end cafes and looking absolutely perfect. She even gains massive traction by posting photos of herself in traditional handboks, looking like a modern princess. From fancy drinks at the bar to the latest fashion trends, her life is the definition of goals for her fans. But all of that fame and luxury is about to vanish if she doesn't find a husband fast. Our girl was completely drained, just staring at the ceiling and wishing this entire nightmare would end. Her nanny walked in, probably ready to deliver even more bad news about her impending doom of a marriage. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, and honestly, can you even blame her with this mess? The nanny wasn't giving her any sympathy today, looking down at her with a classic stoic expression. While she is having a total meltdown on the sofa, the nanny is already busy packing her things because she underestimated her grandfather's resolve to cut her off. But then she remembered her true love, and no, it wasn't a person, it was her precious credit card. Honestly fair, the things we do for a shopping limit. She felt like she was going to faint when the nanny mentioned the wedding would be a small, private ceremony at home. Our protagonist started panic sorting through her things, wondering how she was supposed to keep this secret from the rest of the world. The thought of actually having to invite people made her stomach turn, especially with her public reputation on the line. She pulls out an old photo that takes her back to a time when she was actually happy and deeply in love. Looking at the picture of them, cuddling makes her current situation feel even more depressing. It was a memory of a much simpler time before she had to worry about the family textile empire. She remembered blushing like crazy when they talked about their upcoming 1,000-day anniversary together. The guy in the photo had a gentle smile and told her they could have actually gotten married if things were different. Now she feels like she is about to snap while being haunted by the ghost of her past. She quickly shoved the photo back into the pile, trying to hide her true feelings from the nanny. The older woman noticed the sudden shift in energy and stopped what she was doing to observe our girl more closely. Our girl tried to play it cool, but her face was still flushed from the shock of seeing that old picture. The nanny just laughed it off, teasing her about how she would react if her secret past ever got out. She looked her straight in the eye and reminded her that she still had the choice to walk away from this arranged mess. Sitting among the cardboard boxes, our girl felt smaller than ever, realizing she was trapped between her past and her bankrupt future. Nanny tried to lighten the mood by suggesting that the mystery groom might actually be a decent guy after all. She had this knowing look on her face, like she knew something our girl definitely didn't. Our protagonist was not buying it for a second, looking absolutely disgusted by the mere suggestion. She muttered to herself that she couldn't trust the nanny or her grandpa's taste when it came to men. Outside, the traditional hanok stayed peaceful, blissfully unaware of the chaos brewing inside those wooden walls. Fast forward to the big day, and our girl was decked out in a stunning green and red hanbok, looking like a literal princess. But despite the fancy clothes, her hands were shaking as she gripped her phone, waiting for a photo of the groom. The silk of her dress rustled as she trembled, her heart pounding against her ribs in pure terror. When the photo finally loaded, she screamed that this whole thing was a total scam. Bro, he looks like he has never seen the sun in his life. On her screen was a photo of a super nerdy guy with thick glasses standing next to the chairman. She started losing it, asking if the nanny was out of her mind for saying this guy was her type. She is losing it, everyone. Our girl just stood there frozen, her brain completely short-circuiting at the thought of spending her life with a dork. Meanwhile, the rest of the staff was frantically searching for her, because it was almost time for the ceremony to start. She wiped the sweat from her forehead, trying to fix her hair while her internal monologue was basically just a series of screams. She sat there pouting in her heavy wedding attire, wondering why her cousin hadn't replied to her desperate texts for help. Outside in the courtyard, the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, decorated with beautiful lights for the evening celebration. Everything was set for the wedding of the century, even if the bride was currently planning her escape. The wedding venue is packed with people who are already starting to whisper and trade juicy gossip about the ceremony. Everyone is waiting for the big moment under the beautiful cherry blossoms, completely unaware of the drama. Guests are leaning in close to trade rumors while the beautiful cherry blossoms frame the chaos. The gossip is spreading faster than the falling petals. Our stylish purple-haired girl is focusing on her angles instead of the missing bride. She looks like she belongs on a magazine cover with that designer bag. The chairman is all smiles while standing with the rest of the family, looking absolutely thrilled about the big day. He is completely oblivious to the fact that his granddaughter is currently having a total meltdown. She tells everyone that Yuna has already vanished and they should just call it a day. She definitely has a hidden agenda for wanting to reschedule. A new player enters the chat with a sharp smile that suggests he is not here to play games. He looks far too calm for this situation. Her bored expression shifts into something much more defensive as she looks at the newcomer. The atmosphere in the garden suddenly feels a lot heavier. She whips her head around to glare at him, clearly not happy about being interrupted by some random guy in a suit. The room goes dead silent as the tall man in the suit drops the ultimate bombshell. He stands there with total confidence and claims that he is actually the groom. Everyone is frozen in their tracks. She completely loses it, screaming out in total shock at his announcement. Nothing about this day is going according to the script anymore. High above the traditional courtyard, the sun continues to beat down on the chaotic Hanok village as the news spreads through the halls. A frustrated voice echoes through the wooden hallways as the reality of the situation sets in. Someone is definitely hitting the panic button. Yuna is freaking out because her accomplice isn't picking up the phone, and her plan to escape is falling apart by the second. She starts to seriously consider turning back and giving up on her plan, because getting caught like this would be an absolute nightmare. She starts daydreaming about becoming a social media star instead of dealing with this mess. Pursuing the influencer life during a wedding is peak comedy. The sheer desperation of her situation finally sets in, as she wonders how her grand escape plan turned into such total disaster. Suddenly, she loses her balance and lets out a frantic yelp as she starts to tip over in the cramped hallway. She lands hard on the floor with a painful thud, clutching her head in agony. Her luck has officially hit rock bottom. Everything comes to a grinding halt when she sees a pair of dress shoes right in front of her face and realizes her escape has been cut short. She looks up in total horror as she realizes her secret hiding spot has been compromised by the one person she was trying to avoid. The man is already on his phone, calmly explaining that he has located the missing target. He does not seem impressed by her clumsy fall. He remains perfectly calm while reporting his success over the phone, because he knows there is absolutely no way for her to escape now. He assures them that he will bring her back safely, looking every bit like the cold hero of our story. This guy is definitely the type to enjoy the chase, and he has no intention of letting her go. She stares up in absolute disbelief, because there is no way this man should have been able to track her down so fast. Yuna thinks back to that night when her world completely fell apart while she desperately waited for a phone call that never came. Instead of an apology, she found a cold note explaining that he was leaving her behind to study abroad without any warning. Our girl finds herself dragged back to the past while forced to participate in a traditional wedding ceremony with a complete stranger. She stands frozen as the man in the suit approaches her and prepares to act his part in the ritual. He forces her to look at him with an intense gaze that makes her heart race despite the awkward situation. The tension between them becomes so thick that it feels like the rest of the world has completely vanished for a moment. Suddenly, a loud cough breaks the silence and ruins the vibe. Yuna looks over surprised while the guy just stands there unbothered. The officiant tries to hide his embarrassment by claiming the bride is just nervous while he keeps the ceremony moving along. He tries his best to maintain a happy face despite the incredibly awkward energy filling the room. He continues his speech about love and trust while the couple stands there in complete silence under the cherry blossoms. They look like they would rather be anywhere else than participating in this fake display of affection. Then comes the big moment when he tells them to please share a kiss. The prompt is out there, and everyone is waiting for the payoff. Yuna is completely caught off guard because she never expected a kiss to be part of the deal. She stares back in total confusion while trying to figure out how to handle this sudden change in the script. Backstage, the staff realizes they messed up big time. They confused the ceremony script with another one, and now things are going off the rails. The guy in the suit starts to move in anyway. He does not seem to care if it was in the script or not. Yuna realizes with horror that he is actually going to follow through with the kiss in front of all these people. He is clearly much bolder than anyone expected him to be, and has no intention of stopping now. He pulls her into a firm embrace and takes full control of the moment while completely ignoring her obvious shock. Yuna feels her brain short-circuit as she tries to process his sudden move and the heat of his touch. She suddenly realizes that he is not going to stop, and panic begins to set in as he gets closer to her face. She has to figure out a way out of this situation immediately before the entire crowd sees them together. Instead of melting into his embrace, her anger takes over as she prepares to give him a piece of her mind. She is not about to let him treat her like a puppet in his little game anymore. She decides to take matters into her own hands and prepares a powerful strike to protect herself from his unwanted advances. He is so focused on himself that he has no clue a disaster is coming his way. Wham! She lands a massive punch right on his jaw. Girl really just chose violence, and I am here for it. The entire crowd gasps in horror as the high society wedding descends into absolute chaos right in front of the chairman. It is clear that the dream ceremony has turned into a total disaster that nobody will ever forget. Yuna is absolutely fuming with steam practically coming out of her ears. She is not the type of girl you want to mess with. Fast forward to the present day, and she is screaming at the top of her lungs. Her voice echoes through the entire apartment complex as she curses him out. The door to her place clicks open as someone decides to just walk right in. It is our suit guy from before, but now he is in casual clothes and on the phone. Imagine getting punched, then just walking into her house later. Yuna sits at the table with her back to him, refusing to even look his way. The silence in the room is heavy enough to suffocate someone. He tries to gauge exactly how much trouble he is in by watching her reaction from across the room. He knows he messed up, but he is still testing the limits of her patience and anger. He finally starts to feel the weight of the day's drama and begins to regret all the trouble his presence has caused. It is clear that even he has limits when it comes to dealing with this much awkward tension. She refuses to give him the satisfaction of an apology and remains committed to her silent treatment to show her frustration. Her stubborn attitude highlights just how much he hurt her during their previous encounter. He informs her that he has already explained the entire situation to her grandfather to settle the matter once and for all. He believes that providing this explanation should be enough to end the argument between them. That was the wrong thing to say because she stands up immediately to confront him. The height difference is real, but her energy is massive. She glares at him with eyes full of tears because she cannot believe he has the audacity to act so casual about their history. Her frustration is reaching its limit as she struggles to keep from exploding at him. He just stands there taking it without saying a word. His stoic attitude is only making her more upset. Her blood begins to boil again as she struggles to keep from swinging at him for a second time today. This man is really pushing every single one of her buttons, and she is close to losing her composure entirely. She turns her back on him again because she cannot stand to look at his face. The classic left-behind trope is hitting hard right now. He watches her walk away with an expression that is impossible to read. It is like he is hiding something behind that calm mask. He tries to compose himself while realizing that this conversation is going absolutely nowhere despite his efforts to fix things. It is clear he is starting to regret even showing up at her apartment after the stunt he pulled. She remains lost in her own thoughts while trying to process the massive amount of unresolved pain he caused her in the past. She isn't about to let him off the hook just because he gave a simple excuse for his behavior. Finally, he sits down at his computer and says he does not care anymore. He is over the drama and ready to move on. Our girl lies there completely drained while wondering why she is the only one still hurting over a relationship that barely lasted a year. She feels like a total fool for being the only person who hasn't moved on yet. Suddenly, her frustration boiled over, and she reached for the nearest heavy object on the shelf. Without a second thought, she hurled a thick book straight at her ex's head. The guy scrambled to avoid the flying literature as she screamed about what a load of crap this whole situation was. He continues to act like a total jerk while making a mocking gesture to show her just how little he cares about her feelings. It is clear that he has no remorse for the chaos he has caused in her life since he returned. Tears finally started to fall as she glared at him, the raw hurt and betrayal clear in her eyes. This wasn't just some random fling. They had put a 17-year friendship and their entire families on the line for this. Childhood friends to lovers? Classic trope alert. They had been together since they were literal babies with their moms cheering them on. All those years of history felt like they were shattering into a million pieces in this very room. The guy stayed silent, his expression remaining unreadable as he looked back at her with cool eyes. He let out a long, heavy sigh that made it clear he was just as exhausted by this drama as she was, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break down further. Our main girl turned and stormed out of the room. Girl, just go home, this is getting awkward. She ended up looking like a total mess, begging to crash at a friend's place. Che-Yuna opened the door with her toothbrush still in her mouth, looking completely caught off guard by the late-night visit. High up in the apartment complex, the lights stayed on as the two friends prepared for a long night of venting. Yuna leaned on her hand, listening intently to the chaotic and depressing update about the sudden breakup. Eventually, the emotional toll won out, and our protagonist drifted into a restless and uneasy sleep. By morning, Yuna was back to her bubbly self, pointing out that our girl had basically moved in with her suitcase. The protagonist quickly claimed she was just upset after getting into another heated argument with her stubborn grandfather. She felt a sudden wave of anxiety, while wondering if her friend actually believed the obvious lie she just told. Yuna didn't seem convinced at all and kept staring at her friend, while waiting for the real story to come out. Yuna didn't let it slide, though, and asked what she would actually do if she happened to run into him again. The mere thought of a face-to-face encounter sent a jolt of pure anxiety through our protagonist. She could feel the panic rising in her chest, just imagining how awkward it would be to see him again. She tried to laugh it off, insisting they were just speaking hypothetically and it wouldn't actually happen anytime soon. She's definitely going to run into him next chapter. Yuna started flailing around on the bed, teasing her about their entangled lives. Our girl looked away, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks as the reality set in. Yeah, that hit different. Deep down she knew she wasn't ready for a confrontation, no matter how much she pretended to be over the whole thing. Yuna let out a loud and dramatic groan, frustrated that her friend was still this conflicted and hurt. Her hand gripped the blanket with white knuckles as she thought about how she simply couldn't let go of him yet. A single tear pooled in her eye as she realized she was still completely trapped by her own stubborn feelings. She sat there biting her nail, her mind racing through 100 different worst-case scenarios involving her ex. Yuna looked over with concern, realizing that her friend was spiraling back into a full-blown panic. The silence in the room became heavy, as they both realized that avoiding the past was going to be an impossible task. She knew she needed to find a way to move forward before these painful memories completely consumed her entire life. Our guy stood under the steaming hot water, letting the silence of the bathroom wash over him. After that heavy talk, he needed this. This is where every deep thought happens. His muscles remained incredibly tense, while he struggled to wash away the overwhelming guilt of everything that had happened between them. On a bright sunny day at the university campus, where everything seems perfectly normal. Students are heading to class, and the vibe is totally peaceful, which usually means trouble is on the way. Our protagonist is glued to her phone and checking her messages with a very serious expression on her face. She seems to be waiting for something important that just hasn't arrived yet. Her best friend looks her dead in the eye and asks why she is being such a weirdo today. It's obvious her friend can tell something is up even if she isn't saying it yet. This is definitely peak friendship right here. Our girl explains that things have been way too quiet lately, and that is exactly what makes her nervous. She has spent so much time dealing with drama that a peaceful day feels like the calm before a huge storm. The two of them continue their walk across the courtyard while discussing the lack of excitement in their lives lately. They are definitely tempting fate right now. A deep sigh escapes her lips because honestly living without constant chaos feels like she is just waiting for a bomb to drop. She really cannot catch a break even when things are good. Her friend tells her to just relax and enjoy the quiet moment while it lasts because whatever happens will happen anyway. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow and stop worrying. For a brief second, she actually listens and closes her eyes to soak in the sunlight and the peaceful atmosphere of the campus. It feels nice to just breathe for a change, but that peace is short-lived because she suddenly gets the distinct feeling that every single person in the vicinity is staring right at them. The paranoia is starting to kick back in. While sitting through their lecture, the best friend finds it incredibly annoying that everyone is still staring at them. She wonders how an entire class can be so obsessed with watching their every move. While our girl is off in her own happy little world, her friend is busy dying of embarrassment right next to her. Talk about a mismatched duo. Our girl and her friend get stopped by this massive presence blocking their path. It is a guy they recognize, but his energy is totally different than usual. This is where the real awkwardness begins for the pair. This cute, wavy-haired guy is blushing like crazy and looks like he is about to pass out. Classic blushing junior move right here. He starts nervously rubbing the back of his neck and looking anywhere but at them. The poor dude is clearly struggling to find the right words to say. The junior is literally vibrating with anxiety while he tries to explain himself to the two girls. He is making a mountain out of a molehill here. She is suddenly daydreaming about the legendary meal date she has heard so much about in school. In her mind, she is already imagining how perfect it could be with a nice senior. This girl really needs to focus. She looks back at her friend with this huge, goofy grin, that says she is totally on board with whatever is happening. Her friend, however, does not look convinced at all by this sudden change of heart. Her friend gives the guy a sharp and suspicious look that would make anyone want to run away. She is not falling for his charms easily. The wavy-haired guy turns even redder, and honestly it is kind of adorable how much he is struggling right now. He is trying his best. That is a total shame, because she was really looking forward to a break. It seems like her plans are falling apart already. He tries to play it cool and says it is really not that bad of a situation. He's doing his best to keep his dignity intact. Despite the awkward rejection, he flashes this incredibly charming smile that could melt butter. This guy is definitely going to be a problem later. He is far too persistent for his own good. Our girl awkwardly thanks him while trying to figure out if she should feel bad or relieved about how this turned out. It's complicated. The older students nearby are getting a huge kick out of watching this classic display of youth and rejection. They have all been there before. Suddenly, a phone starts vibrating and ringing loudly right in the middle of their conversation. The timing couldn't be any worse. She smiles and tells the guy she needs to step away for a second to answer her phone. It looks like a perfectly normal excuse, but the look on her face says otherwise. Little does she know this call is bad news. As she walks away to take the call, the wavy-haired guy just stands there looking like a kicked puppy. He even has a little tail wagging in the art to show his loyalty. On the other end of the line, a deep and mysterious voice starts talking. Things are about to take a very dark turn for our girl. Our girl's face completely pales as she realizes who is actually calling her right now. All that anxiety from earlier was totally justified after all. The guy on the other end of the line has this chilling smile as he speaks directly into his phone. He seems way too confident and relaxed, which is never a good sign for our protagonist. Villains always love to play games. Our girl is completely horrified and wants to crawl into a hole and disappear forever. She is totally panicking now. She frantically looks around the campus when the voice on the phone tells her that he has already found her. The trap has been set, and she walked right into it. The person on the other end of the line is actually standing right behind her the whole time. He was watching her every move. The wavy-haired guy notices her sudden distress and asks if the call was some kind of weird prank. He is totally clueless about the danger. She starts losing her mind and cursing, while the junior tries his best to keep her from having a total meltdown. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure watches them from across the courtyard with a very satisfied grin. Close up on the guy's eye as he scans the area like a hawk looking for its prey. You can tell he has spotted exactly what he was looking for in the distance. He lets out a deep breath and prepares himself for the performance of a lifetime. This dude is about to cause a massive scene, and he definitely knows it. He lets it rip by screaming out for his honey at the top of his lungs. Talk about a public embarrassment waiting to happen. Everyone on campus is definitely staring at him now, and our girl looks like she wants to die. Our girl is just minding her own business on her phone when she hears that familiar voice. She looks up with her eyes wide in a mixture of shock and dread. She looks down at her screen and tries to play it cool while pretending she didn't hear anything. Maybe if she ignores him long enough, he will just go away. The confusion turns into a sinking feeling as she realizes there is no escape. Classic rom-com trope, she cannot catch a break. She is already prepared for the worst. He approaches her with an exaggerated smile and starts acting like they are the happiest couple on campus just to mess with her. She shoots him an icy glare from the corner of her eye, her expression hardening as she realizes he is about to make a scene in front of everyone. She stands there frozen next to the handsome student in the tan jacket, as things quickly go from 0 to 100. The two guys face off while our girl stands awkwardly in the middle of this impromptu drama. The height difference and the vibe between them creates an incredibly tense atmosphere. Black jacket guy gives the other dude a cold and piercing look that totally contradicts his cheerful smile. He is clearly marking his territory, and he does not care who sees. He possessively pulls her closer to assert his presence and prevent her from walking away while they are in the middle of this confrontation. He points a finger and keeps that creepy, cheerful act going while he talks. He is basically daring her to call his bluff right in front of her brand new friend. The tall guy in the bomber jacket asks what the hell is going on. He is completely lost And honestly, I don't blame the guy one bit for being confused. He puts on a cutesy and innocent act to try and win some points, but his fake charm is definitely not working on her today. Smack, she plants her hand right over his mouth before he can say another word. She has had enough of his public theater and needs to end this immediately. Our girl quickly tries to damage control by claiming he is just an old friend from high school. She tells the tall guy she needs to leave with him right away. She literally starts dragging him away by the face while the tall guy stands there in a complete daze. She is moving so fast they are basically blur. Poor bomber jacket guy is left all alone in the middle of the campus courtyard. His brain has officially stopped working after witnessing that incredibly chaotic and weird exchange. They eventually head back to a high-rise apartment building where they can finally speak in private and have a more serious conversation. Back indoors, our girl is absolutely fuming at him. She looks like she is about to explode for him, ruining her reputation in front of all her new classmates. She confronts him directly and complains about him being gone for so long, making it clear that they actually live together. She takes a sip of her coffee while her expression stays sharp and guarded. She is clearly not ready to forgive him for that stunt he pulled on campus earlier. He calmly explains that while it might be her school, it is his school too, and he looks incredibly smug about the revelation. She literally does a spit take right then and there. The liquid goes flying everywhere as her entire reality gets turned upside down in a single shocking second. She is clutching her mug and sputtering while trying to clean up the mess. The sheer shock of the situation has her completely disoriented and unable to speak clearly. She demands an answer between coughs with a face full of disbelief. He just stands there watching her struggle with a perfectly calm and unbothered expression on his face. She starts panicking because her dreams of a perfect and successful college life are officially going up in smoke, thanks to him. She stares into space with dead eyes as the weight of the situation sinks in. Her brain has officially short-circuited, and she is questioning every single one of her life choices. They sit across from each other in the living room while she looks over some documents. The energy in the room has shifted from chaotic to strangely quiet and heavy. She stares at the papers in her hand, and her expression softens into something more vulnerable. It looks like whatever is written there has caught her completely off guard. Suddenly her face turns bright red as she starts shaking the papers in frustration. She looks completely flustered and embarrassed by whatever information she just discovered in that document. He just stares at her with those heavy-lidded eyes while waiting for her to say something. He seems to be enjoying her flustered reaction just a little bit too much. She looks back at the document one more time with her mouth slightly open in shock. This guy is full of surprises, and none of them are easy to handle. They continue their conversation in the quiet apartment as the tension between them grows thicker. It is clear that their shared history is much deeper than it first appeared. Our boy stared her down with those tired eyes, waiting for her reaction to his sudden confession. Honestly, fair. This guy was definitely a mystery box. She remains completely speechless as she tries to wrap her head around the impossible and shocking situation he just laid out for her. The quiet living room sits empty as the morning light begins to filter through the windows. Everything is in its place, yet the atmosphere feels heavy with unspoken words. Our guy watches her with an intensity that could melt steel. Those dark eyes are searching for an answer she might not be ready to give yet. Our girl meets his gaze with a mix of defiance and hesitation. She's trying her best to stay composed, but his stare is making it nearly impossible. A tiny smirk plays on her lips, as if she knows exactly how much power she holds over him in this moment. She isn't backing down an inch. They sit across from each other like two grandmasters in a high-stakes game of chess. The air in the room is practically vibrating with tension. He looks so confident sitting there with that messy hair and casual jacket. It is almost like he already knows what she is going to say next. He stands up and leans in, telling her that the whole situation should be simple. He makes it sound like a walk in the park for him. She gives him a look that says she isn't buying his casual attitude for a single second. This isn't just a simple game to her. He stares at her so intently that she can see her own nervous reflection trapped in his dark eyes. Her eyes widen as the weight of his words finally starts to sink in. Maybe things really are as straightforward as he claims they are. She remembers the day he promised to stay by her side, forever regardless of the answer she chose to give him. She grips the fabric of her shirt so tight her knuckles turn white. Her heart is racing and her thoughts are a total mess right now. She finally summons the courage to stand up and prepare herself for a confrontation she can no longer avoid. She gets right in his personal space and throws his own words back at him. She mocks him, asking if he really thinks it is that simple. She fumes with pure frustration as she realizes just how smug and arrogant this man is actually being right now. He doesn't even flinch when she confronts him like that. He just stands there looking cool and collected while she is about to explode. Her face is getting redder by the second as she tries to find the right words to shut him down. She's losing this fight fast. Their hands move closer together almost by instinct as the space between them continues to shrink. The electricity between them is undeniable now. He catches her completely off guard by reaching out and grabbing her hand with a firm and decisive grip. He pulls her closer until they are almost touching, and she is completely frozen in place. Her breath hitches at the sudden physical contact. They stand locked in this intense embrace while holding onto that important document. It is like the rest of the world has completely disappeared. Her blush is so deep it is practically glowing while she tries to look away from his piercing gaze. She's totally lost her cool now. He squeezes her hand just a little bit harder to make sure she is paying attention. He has her exactly where he wants her. He leans down and asks her who she thinks would suffer the most if they went through with this. They are finally closing the gap and my heart is racing. His smug grin returns as he watches her struggle to form a coherent sentence. He knows he has already won this battle of wits. Her brain just completely short-circuits, and she looks like her soul is about to leave her body. That move was way too effective. The morning sun shines brightly over the apartment building as a new day officially begins. Life moves on even after such intense moments. Our boy is already dressed in a comfy gray hoodie, looking like he didn't just cause a romantic crisis last night. He is too cool. She is back to the daily grind, pulling on her socks and getting ready to head out. The domestic routine feels strangely grounding today. He waits by the door with his arms crossed like a parent waiting for a teenager to finish getting ready. He's so impatient. She brushes past him, her hair loose as she heads toward the next room. She can feel his presence behind her, but she refuses to acknowledge him. He watches her with that same knowing look on his face. He is definitely enjoying how much he can still fluster her every day. The romantic tension from last night evaporates the second he hands her a bag of trash to take out. The transition from romance to trash duty is painfully real. She stands with her back to him, her hair now gathered in a side braid. Even though she's trying to keep her composure, she can tell he's still watching her every move. He flashes her a bright and genuine smile while telling her not to be late this week. This dude is definitely up to something. Our girl is getting grilled by the guy in the gray hoodie. She's visibly annoyed by his constant pestering and wants to get this conversation over with already. Instead of backing off, he just flashes this smug grin and holds up his phone. He knows exactly which buttons to push to get under her skin. He demands to know her Ida if she's coming home late. Classic overprotective vibes here, and honestly, our girl looks like she's about to explode. She finally makes her escape, her sneakers squeaking against the floor as she rushes away. She just needs some space from the tension at home. Her face says it all. Dealing with that guy is a full-time job she never signed up for. Why does he have to make everything so complicated? Back at the door, the gray hoodie guy just shrugs it off. He's totally unfazed by her anger, which probably makes her even more furious. He watches her go with that same confident smirk. This dude definitely has a hidden agenda, and I am betting it involves more than just house rules. The story moves to the sprawling university campus where it seems like a peaceful day. But our protagonist is about to find out her secret life is becoming impossible to hide. Our girl walks through the hall looking a bit dazed. She has a lot on her mind, especially with everyone seemingly wanting a piece of her time today. Suddenly, she runs into a guy with wavy hair who is blushing like crazy. This poor dude looks like he's about to short-circuit just by looking at her. He is dressed neatly in a brown sweater, but his body language screams pure nerves. You can tell he's been rehearsing this moment in his head all morning. Our girl is totally caught off guard by his intense reaction. She is thinking to herself that this situation is getting weirder by the second, and she needs an out. He looks absolutely devastated as she tries to let him down easy. Our girl is doing her best to be polite, but rejection is never easy for anyone involved. The wavy hair guy rubs his forehead, looking completely flustered. He's clearly struggling to process whatever she just told him. This is painful to watch. She stares at him with a look of pure confusion. Why is he taking this so hard? She was just being honest about her situation and expectations. She points to her own face, trying to explain something, while the guy just hangs his head in defeat. Talk about an awkward campus encounter. In the middle of the tension, she checks her phone. The screen is blank, but she is clearly expecting something that has not arrived yet. She lets out a confused sound. Something on the screen or the lack of a response is starting to make her feel a bit uneasy. The wavy hair guy stands there awkwardly as she prepares to leave. The air is so thick with tension you could cut it with a knife. He looks completely dejected, like his entire world just crumbled. Watching a guy get friend-zoned this hard is a classic romance trope right here. But then, like magic, he flips the switch and beams a bright smile. He's suddenly surrounded by imaginary flowers as he regains his composure. He waves goodbye with an almost too cheerful attitude. Is this a defense mechanism, or is he just that resilient? Watch this come back to bite him later. Our girl finally meets up with her friends, looking totally drained. They can tell immediately that she has been through the ringer today. As they walk down the stairs, she decides to just reply enough to keep things from getting awkward. She's playing it safe to avoid more drama. Her pink-haired friend teases her, suggesting the guy must really not be her type. Little does she know a much bigger reason exists. The other friend chimed in, guessing a very specific reason exists why our girl keeps rejecting all these guys left and right. She's definitely onto something. Our protagonist looks caught. She knows she is keeping a massive secret from her friends, and the guilt is starting to show on her face. Her friend leans in closer, eyes narrowed with suspicion. The pressure is mounting, and our girl is running out of excuses to give them. She finally admits it to herself. A rule is a rule, but she has a conscience as a legally married woman. Plot twist of the century right there. Her friend stares at her, sensing that she is holding back the full truth. If only they knew the real reason behind her cold shoulder. They start playfully ganging up on her, dragging her along to whatever plans they have for the afternoon. No escaping this friend group. Our girl forces a smile and agrees to join them today. She's trying her best to act like a normal college student despite her complicated home life. They pull her down the hall in a flurry of excitement. It is a funny moment, but you can tell her mind is still miles away. She looks stressed as they move along. Balancing a secret marriage with a social life is proving to be way harder than she anticipated. She looks down at her phone with a heavy heart as the crushing weight of her double life starts to feel like a burden she can no longer carry alone. Our girl decides she has to send a quick text to update him on her plans. She tells him she is working on a school project with friends before heading back. Honesty is the best policy here, right? She looks up with a tired but soft expression, clearly feeling the weight of the day. This double life is exhausting, but she manages to keep a brave face. This girl really needs a break. Suddenly, the tall guy in the gray hoodie appears and flashes her a sweet, bashful smile that immediately makes him look like the ultimate boy next door. Our girl just stares up at him with a hilarious blank expression. She's totally caught off guard while he stands there with his hands in his pockets. Watch this come back to bite her soon. The restaurant is buzzing with typical Friday night energy, as orders for table 5 fly across the room, while the kitchen staff screams that the food is finally ready. Everything seems normal until a guy suddenly approaches their booth and catches everyone off guard as the crowd noise fades into the background for our girl. Our protagonist completely freezes up with her brain literally buffering, because she cannot understand why this guy is coming out from the kitchen of all places. Che Yuna looks absolutely stunned as her face heats up with a deep blush, while their pink-haired friend just sits there with a deadpan expression. The guy in the gray hoodie gives a casual smirk and notes that it has been quite while since they last met, and he looks way too relaxed for the situation. He keeps up that breezy attitude while our protagonist just sits there sweating and forcing a smile so hard it looks physically painful for her to maintain. Suddenly, the other guy with light brown hair jumps in and calls out the hoodie guy's name to ask if he already told the boss about something before getting cut off. The focus stays on the two guys standing in the middle of the aisle looking like regular employees, while the tension at the booth continues to skyrocket. The brown-haired guy has an intense look in his eyes as he leans in to speak, because he is clearly more focused on their task than the social drama. He grabs Ha-jin by the shoulder and tries to pull him away to stop him from causing a scene, but Ha-jin still manages to give a casual wave. The light brown-haired guy flashes a bright smile and acts like he cannot believe they ran into each other in a place like this of all places. Our protagonist deals with the second-hand embarrassment of this awkward encounter by immediately chugging her drink to avoid making any further eye contact with him. The mystery man is finally confirmed to be Ju Ha-jin, and it turns out the girl in the pink top is actually his former flame, Che Yuna. Ha-jin flashes that signature smirk because he knows exactly what kind of effect he is having on the room, and he is not trying to hide it at all. He stands there looking like a total main character, while his friend hovers awkwardly in the background, waiting for him to finally stop talking and move on. The table is covered in delicious-looking steak fries and ramen, but nobody is actually eating anymore, because the social tension has completely killed the mood. Our girl keeps her eyes glued to her glass while trying to disappear into the ice cubes, as she processes the fact that Ha-jin is standing right there. The relationship chart is a total mess between the ex-boyfriend, the college classmates, and the schoolmates, who clearly know way too much about everyone's past mistakes. Yuna is visibly shaken and rests her face in her hand to hide her blushing cheeks, as she struggles with the internal storm caused by seeing him again. Ha-jin looks over at her with a soft expression and acts completely oblivious to the absolute chaos he is currently causing inside her head right now. Yuna nervously taps the rim of her glass with trembling fingers as she tries to focus on her drink, while her mind is clearly miles away from the conversation. Ha-jin casually suggests that since they all go to the same college, they should probably hang out sometime, as he holds up his glass like it is a normal request. The pink-haired friend is absolutely not buying whatever Ha-jin is selling, and gives him the most judgmental side eye in history, while noticing the ring on his finger. She leans in to whisper a warning to Yuna, who has stayed red as a beet, and is currently unable to form a single coherent sentence to defend herself. Ha-jin takes a sip of his drink and darts a calculating look toward our protagonist, because he is definitely noticing how quiet she is being compared to the others. Our protagonist starts restlessly fidgeting with a napkin under the table, because her body is giving away all the anxiety she is trying so hard to hide. She keeps her head down and avoids the gaze of everyone else at the booth, because the pressure of the situation is finally starting to get to her. The thought of being the center of attention makes her feel incredibly self-conscious, so she takes another sip of beer, hoping the alcohol will help her cope. Ha-jin keeps that calm and knowing look on his face, while watching her reaction, because he seems to find her obvious discomfort extremely interesting and entertaining. He mentions that he is supposedly working on an assignment anyway, so he doubts his professor or anyone else would find out he is spending time here. The pink-haired friend ignores him and checks on Yuna to see if she is actually doing okay after this sudden run-in with her ex-boyfriend. Our protagonist finally hits her limit with the mystery and awkwardness of the night, and lets out a frustrated sound while covering her face with a napkin. It turns out that Ha-jin is supposedly only at the restaurant, because he had a part-time job interview scheduled earlier, which sounds like a very convenient excuse. Yuna looks up in surprise and asks him if he really wants to work at this specific place, because seeing him here every day would be a nightmare. Our girl stares at the two of them with a look of pure suspicion, because she does not believe for a second that this was a random encounter. The pink-haired friend stares at Ha-jin with a skeptical and judgmental expression, as she bluntly assumes that his lifestyle must be funded by a wealthy girlfriend. Ju Ha-jin just laughs off the intrusive question and takes a long drink while remaining completely unbothered by the suspicious looks being thrown his way by the girls. Our protagonist reaches her limit and tries to match the drinking energy of the table, but she looks a bit desperate as her movements get sloppier. Suddenly, the table descends into pure chaos as our protagonist starts pouring drinks for everyone with a manic energy that leaves the others completely stunned by her behavior. Her face is flushed bright red, and her eyes roll back as the alcohol finally takes full control of her body while she operates on a different frequency. Yuna leaned over and whispered something to the girl next to her while looking completely skeptical. They were both trying to figure out if this was all a big act or if Ha-jin really was this messy of a drunk. The judgment in this room is actually palpable. Yuna gets snapped out of her gossip session when someone calls her name, leaving her looking totally startled, as if she were caught doing something wrong. Our protagonist finally hit the wall and collapsed face first onto the table in a total daze. Someone pointed out the obvious mistake that she had been drinking heavy shoujo thinking it was light beer. Classic rookie mistake that always leads to a disaster like this. A yellow taxi pulls up to the curb as the group prepares to load their passed-out friend into the back seat, so she can finally sleep it off. The brown-haired girl can barely maintain eye contact and turns bright red while trying to talk to the intimidating guy standing right in front of her. Ju Ha-jin looks completely annoyed as he reminds them that nobody even knows where the drunk girl actually lives anyway, so they can't help her. He pointed out that Ha-jin had actually moved a long time ago and was not living where they thought she was. The revelation seemed to catch few people off guard and left a lingering sense of mystery about her current life. Why is he the only one who knows the truth? She tries to keep a polite smile on her face, even though the tension in the air makes her feel like a complete stranger among these old friends. He tells them to just ask her for all the details later, when she finally wakes up from her drunken stupor tomorrow morning. The rest of the group waves goodbye and shouts for them to get home safely, as the taxi begins to pull away from the curb. Yuna watches the taxi leave with a deep frown and wonders if it was actually a good idea to let her friend go off alone with that guy. The guy next to her just laughs her concerns away, as if he knows something she doesn't about the history between the pair in the car. He reveals that their families are incredibly close, and that the two of them actually dated for a long time after being friends for 17 years. Yuna stands there frozen in shock, as she tries to process the bombshell news that the mysterious guy is actually the protagonist's ex-boyfriend. She looks totally exhausted by the sudden drama and stares at him with a look of pure disbelief, while her brain tries to recalibrate the situation. She stands there in total silence as the reality of her friend's secret past starts to sink in and change everything she thought she knew. She walks along the empty sidewalk, as the weight of these new secrets begins to change her entire perspective on their relationship. Yuna stands alone under the city lights looking completely lost in thought, while she tries to make sense of the complicated history she just discovered. Back at the apartment, the chaos continues as he tries to stop the drunk girl from tracking dirt all over the floor with her shoes still on. He lets out a frustrated sigh and mutters about how her drinking habits haven't improved a single bit over the years they were apart. She mumbles incoherently while lying on the bed and struggles to understand why her shoes are still stubbornly attached to her feet. He settles down on the floor to help her remove her shoes and asks if she is finally starting to wake up or if she is still completely wasted. She manages to sit up and squints her eyes until he finally confirms his identity to her with a blunt and straightforward response. She reaches out to touch his face with a trembling hand, as if she needs to confirm that he isn't just hallucination from the alcohol. Instead of pulling away, he closes his eyes and lets her touch him, showing that he still harbors some deep feelings despite their messy past. She gives him a soft and genuine smile while blushing intensely, looking much more comfortable with him now than she did earlier in the night. He abruptly stands up and turns his back to her, because he doesn't want her to see how much her touch is actually affecting him. He stares into the distance with a conflicted expression, while his mind races through all the reasons why he should probably leave her alone right now. He clenches his fist so hard his knuckles turn white, while he asks her where she plans on disappearing to this time around. He keeps his jaw tight and waits for an answer, his voice cracking with a vulnerability he usually tries his best to hide from everyone. Our girl dives onto the bed, clutching her teddy bear while yelling at our guy. She is totally shocked that he would even think about joining her up there. Our boy is just standing there with a deadpan expression. He is completely unbothered by her outburst and looks like he just wants to go to sleep. Suddenly the mood shifts and our girl gets flustered, burying her face into her bear. She mumbles that she will let it slide just this once. She is folding faster than a lawn chair. The guy stays silent, just watching her with that same unreadable gaze while leaning near the shelves. The tension in this room is getting pretty heavy. He scratches his head, clearly feeling the awkwardness of the situation. This dude really does not know how to handle a blushing girl. This level of social awkwardness is too relatable. He finally agrees, telling her to just let it go for tonight before starting to walk away. It's a small victory for her, but the vibe is still intense. After all that drama, the teddy bear ends up abandoned on the floor. It looks like the conversation is over, but things are definitely different now. Poor bear did nothing to deserve this. They are still sound asleep, as the morning sun filters through the blinds and hits the furniture. She is practically acting like glue right now, while begging him for just a tiny bit of rest. He calls her out immediately, because she spent the entire hour scrolling through her phone instead of studying. Instead of feeling guilty, she just doubles down on the affection and squeezes him even tighter to get her way. She complains that they barely go on dates lately, and he is not even hugging her anymore like he used to. The rant continues as she mentions how he is always busy at school and buried in books after classes. She feels totally ignored and is making sure he knows exactly how lonely she has been feeling. Our boy is clearly starting to crack under the pressure of her constant hugging and complaining. His heart is racing as he looks down at her and realizes that she is not going to stop anytime soon. He finally gives in and promises to do whatever she wants for the rest of the day. A soft smile plays on his lips as he gazes at her with a look of pure surrender. Her face lights up with pure joy the second he agrees to her demands. She looks at him with sparkling eyes and wonders if he is actually serious about spending the whole day together. She reflects on her own behavior and realizes she is not trying to be difficult on purpose today. She admits to herself that she does not want to risk her life just for the sake of dating this guy either. The shadow of Han Dupil looms over their happy moment as a reminder of the stakes involved. The chairman and his cane are a constant threat to their peace. This is the second time she has done this. Pattern anyone. She giggles with pure delight while rolling around under the heavy duvet. Even with the threat of the chairman hanging over them, she is just happy to be in this moment. The intimacy between them is undeniable as she looks down at him while they are still tangled in the sheets. Her expression is soft and full of genuine affection for the boy beside her. Our boy looks back at her with a gaze that is both tired and deeply caring. He seems to be contemplating everything she just said about their relationship and his lack of attention. She tells him that if he ever finds himself unable to sleep again, he should just give her a call. It is a sweet gesture that shows how much she cares about his well-being. She decides she will just snap that grandpa's cane in half if he ever tries to interfere with them again. The morning light fills the room while everything remains peaceful and quiet before the two of them finally wake up. The realization of where she is starts to kick in as she wakes up from what felt like a very vivid dream. She gently strokes through his messy dark hair as the dream continues to linger in her mind for a moment. She finally opens her eyes and realizes that she is actually in bed with him right now and panics internally. Our boy rubs his eyes and looks completely groggy as he tries to process where he is. He looks like he just woke up from a century-long nap. They stare at each other in silence while lying in bed together, and reality finally starts to set in. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. The night they just spent together is going to make things very complicated between them for a long time. They eventually leave the room and head out together, while reflecting on the awkward situation they just put themselves in. She questions how he could possibly just sleep next to her after she was acting so crazy and drunk last night. He teases her by asking if his wife was always such a violent person, while she blushes from the absolute embarrassment. She demands to know if he only stayed because she grabbed him and refused to let go. She argues that he could have easily shaken her off and left if he really wanted to. Her eyes go wide when he asks her a question that catches her completely off guard. She was not expecting him to be so blunt about the situation. He wears a smug grin and asks why he would ever pass up a chance like that. He is totally playing her and it is working. Honestly fair. She makes a hilarious face of pure disgust and shock at his shameless answer. Her internal system is basically short-circuiting right now. He starts playing the victim card by claiming his body is so sore he could not even go to his part-time job. He shows her that his neck will not even bend. She looks at him with a mix of guilt and annoyance as she realizes She might have actually caused him some physical pain during her drunken antics. He rubs the back of his neck and wonders just how expensive this whole situation is going to end up being for him. He looks surprisingly casual about it all. She sets the ground rules by stating they are staying just friends, and he must act like a complete stranger on campus. Our girl is trying to play it cool while this guy offers to carry her bag just to the front gate. She looks a bit exhausted, but she is holding her ground firmly. They finally reach the elevator, but the silence between them is about to get extremely heavy for everyone involved. She flashes a polite smile, but you can tell her social battery is running on fumes right now. This is a classic introvert move. A mysterious girl with a bunch of piercings joins them in the elevator, while the awkward tension continues to rise. Our girl is practically shrinking into the corner, while the guy next to her stays completely expressionless. This awkwardness is physically painful. The three of them stand in total silence as the doors close. Talk about a long ride to the ground floor. Finally, out of that metal box, they end up by the vending machines, where the real gossip usually goes down. The girl in the blue cap waits by the machines while sipping her drink and looking like she has a lot on her mind. She explains that their families are extremely close, so they are basically forced to socialize with each other. Even though it hits hard, she makes it clear that their romantic history is completely over. Yuna watches the exchange with a smug smile because she can tell some juicy drama is about to unfold. She knows exactly what kind of messy situation they are walking into. Apparently, they only dated for 8 months back in high school, so it is ancient history. Classic dating trope right here. The conversation pivots when the girl in the cap asks how long she has been living on her own. Our protagonist gets all flustered and tries to come up with a reason for her solo living situation. She confesses that she cannot really invite anyone over because things would get way too awkward. Yuna instantly catches on to the lie and starts looking at her with total suspicion. The girl in the cap remains completely unconvinced and continues to eye her suspiciously from the side. She can tell that the whole story is just a cover for something much bigger. She straight up asks why our girl is dragging a guy with a girlfriend into this whole mess. Honestly fair. Our girl just sweats it out while trying to keep her composure. She made the worst possible choice. She doubles down on her claim and insists that absolutely nothing is happening between her and Jidong. She wants to make sure everyone understands that they are strictly just friends now. She shoots them a menacing glare that warns everyone not to even think about questioning her authority. Her attitude alone is enough to make the entire room feel uncomfortable. A group of upperclassmen suddenly interrupts the conversation to help handle the explanation for the guys. They seem way too eager to get involved in the drama. Our girl and Yuna offer a painfully awkward greeting as they try to keep their cool around the seniors. You can tell they are both feeling extremely out of place. Our girl whispers a question about who the new girl is and finds out she is the second-year class representative. The class representative radiates an aura of pure trouble while showing off her sharp black nails. Meeting her feels like a guaranteed recipe for a total disaster later on. Everyone starts acting like a total fanboy because they have never seen a famous influencer hanging out in person before. Her popularity makes her the center of attention the moment she steps into the light. Our girl is just watching the scene unfold as the rep tells everyone to roll out the red carpet for the freshmen. The rep throws her arm around a guy who starts blushing like crazy immediately. She definitely knows her own power. The girl in the cap forces a fake laugh, even though she clearly wants to be anywhere else but in this conversation. The influencer rep pulls out her phone and starts scrolling, while everyone else just watches her every move intently. Yuna is also glued to her screen, probably checking the latest posts or the newest campus gossip. A big laugh erupts from the rep, and the mood shifts back to being high energy and slightly chaotic. The blushing guy gathers his courage and asks if she is finally free now that the drama is over. He is hoping for a chance. He is clearly trying his luck, but he is playing a very dangerous game with someone like her. Our girl is muttering to herself under her breath while watching the interaction play out in front of her. The class rep looks back with a smirk that says she knows exactly what everyone is thinking about her. Our protagonist turns away and stares at the bulletin board while trying to process all this sudden college chaos. She finally hits her breaking point and explodes with a level of rage that no one saw coming. She is officially done being the punching bag for these annoying upperclassmen and decides to let them have it. She starts going off, and honestly, she is not holding back. She tells them that her school year is none of their business. If she wants to wear a potato sack to class, she will. The rant just keeps going, and it is glorious. She is tearing into them about how everyone is a precious daughter and they should have respect. Talk about a verbal beatdown. The entire hallway falls into a deathly silence as the other students stand around with their jaws on the floor. Nobody expected the quiet girl to have that kind of fire inside of her. She delivers one final blow to their egos and effectively shuts down the entire conversation for good. These guys finally realized that they picked a fight with the wrong person today. The senior is absolutely fuming because a freshman dared to talk back to her, so she slams her hands on the desk in total disbelief. The senior continues her loud rant, accusing the wealthy freshman influencer of thinking she can ignore the campus hierarchy just because she has money. The senior screams at the top of her lungs, calling out Yuna's name as her anger reaches its boiling point during the lecture. Gu-won finally spoke up, telling her that the freshman, Yuna, is not even like that. The senior immediately turned her sights on him, questioning if he actually saw how the girl acted earlier today. She mocked him, asking if he really thought Yuna would date him just because he was acting like her knight in shining armor during this argument. Gu-won remains completely unmoved by her petty insults, as he waits for her to finally finish this exhausting lecture. The senior continued her rant, accusing him of getting way ahead of himself after just one simple conversation with the popular freshman girl. Gu-won rubbed the back of his neck, clearly wishing he could be anywhere else but this cramped classroom listening to her nonsense. He did not even bother to look back at her, as he planned his final escape from this toxic and exhausting conversation. The senior realized he was completely tuned out, looking at her with the blank expression of a literal fish. This girl needs a hobby that is not hating. Gu-won did not even hesitate to leave, thinking about how much he preferred sleeping over this loud argument. He simply told them he had class and started walking away from the mess. Gu-won remains completely unbothered, as the people around him finally confirm his identity during the middle of the heated argument. Gu-won is the type of guy who lets everything slide off his back, which only makes people like her even angrier. He walked away with a cool confidence that you only see in male leads. He definitely knows how to make an exit. The senior stood there huffing, while her friend just watched Gu-won leave with a look of pure exhaustion from all the shouting. Our boy vanished down the hall, leaving the drama behind him like it was nothing more than a minor annoyance in his day. As he walked outside, he looked back at the building and thought about how exhausting school politics can be. He just wanted a quiet semester, but drama seems to follow him everywhere. The campus trees swayed in the breeze, masking the sound of the ongoing argument inside the building while students went about their morning. Meanwhile, our protagonist was enjoying the fresh air, her hair tied up in a neat blue scrunchie as she navigated the campus paths. Her friend in the blue cap asked if she was worried about the senior being the department representative and holding a grudge. Our girl remained calm, crossing her arms as they walked together through the university grounds while discussing the morning incident. She started thinking back to her childhood, remembering when she was just a little girl in a beautiful traditional yellow hanbok. In her memory, the wealthy chairman Han Du-pil was handing her a stack of cash with a proud smile while she giggled happily. Our girl and her friend shared a quick laugh as they reminisced about those simpler times when they were just kids without any worries. The friend in the cap asks if she and Ji-won have really been close since they were children, clearly trying to dig for some juicy information. Our girl gave a subtle smile, confirming that they indeed had a very long history together that most people did not know about. Her friend looked surprised, laughing nervously while processing just how deep those connections between the two of them actually went. The girl admits that despite their long history together, she has never actually heard Ji-won talk about dating or mention anyone he might like. The friend explains that several guys have been constantly asking her for an introduction to Ji-won, since he has become such a hot topic lately. They both laughed it off, but you can tell the friend is definitely up to something. Classic fake friend behavior right here. The friend nervously scratched her face, hoping her ulterior motives for asking about Gu-won were not too obvious to our girl. Our girl looked at her with a knowing expression, sensing that the conversation was taking a slightly weird turn for no reason. The atmosphere between them grew a bit tense as they stood near the campus benches, with neither of them wanting to say more. Our girl tried to keep the conversation light and friendly, but she was definitely on her guard about her childhood friend's secrets. She looked toward the horizon, wondering if her childhood friend was about to become the center of a major campus scandal very soon. Our girl watches as her pink-haired friend spots something across the courtyard. The girl in the cap asks what is going on, clearly sensing some tension in the air. There he is, the childhood friend, walking with a blonde girl who is laughing like they are in a romantic comedy. Honestly, the audacity of this guy is something else. The pink-haired girl watches them with a smirk, curious about what is actually happening between the two of them. She comments that the girl next to him looks like his girlfriend and is incredibly pretty. For some reason, she actually feels relieved seeing him with someone else. Our protagonist, however, is not having it. She looks at her friend with a face full of disbelief and irritation. The campus building stands tall and quiet as the drama unfolds below its windows. Our girl is absolutely fuming that he caused all that trouble and now has the nerve to walk around flirting. Bro made the worst possible choice, and I am here for it. She stomps off toward the building, dark energy radiating from her as students move out of her way. In the background, the sound of laughter and the sight of flower petals seem to follow the blonde girl around. The blonde girl continues her cheerful conversation, completely unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. Suddenly, our protagonist stops in her tracks, her eyes widening as a new thought hits her. She stands frozen as students pass by her in the hallway. Her feet come to a dead halt on the pavement as she processes what she just heard. She stays completely still and listens in as if her life depends on hearing every single detail of their conversation. She stands there, back to the world, listening to the quiet mumbles coming from the bench just a short distance away. The brown jacket of her childhood friend comes into clear focus, his posture looking more tense than before. He looks off to the side with a serious expression, his mind clearly somewhere far away from the conversation he is having. The sunlight catches his shoulder as the atmosphere between the two on the bench shifts into something more heavy. Seeing them sitting together like that makes her blood boil, as she wonders what they could possibly be talking about. Her face turns bright red as she realizes she might have been spotted. She frantically wonders if he actually saw her standing there. She desperately needs a place to hide before they turn around and catch her spying on them in the middle of the day. Crouching down low, she clenches her teeth in frustration, hating that she is even spying on them in the first place. Her face scrunches up in pure annoyance as she tries to justify her behavior to herself. The blush on her cheeks is not going away, and she feels like a total idiot for caring this much. She loudly declares to herself that an intimate conversation between a man and a woman is basically cheating. Classic jealous protagonist move right here. She closes her eyes, feeling the weight of someone calling her way too conservative for her own good. A flicker of sadness crosses her face as she considers that maybe she is just being old-fashioned. Finally, she just gives up and curls into a ball on the floor, feeling completely defeated by her own messy emotions. Little does she know that a mysterious guy has been sitting right there, watching her whole mental breakdown unfold. Our girl jumps back in total shock, screaming out to ask who he is and why he is sitting there. The new guy just looks at her with a cigarette in his mouth, looking like he could not care less. That is some serious main character energy right there. He stares back at her with half-closed eyes, the smoke curling around his face in the afternoon light. Our girl stands there frozen, realizing she just stumbled into a designated smoking area and interrupted this stranger's peace. The sun is shining over Korea University, but for our main girl Harin, the day is already feeling like a total drag. Every corner of this campus is buzzing with life, except for her internal battery. She looks around, clearly lost in her own thoughts, wondering how she even ended up in this mood. Sometimes you just wake up and decide today is just not your day. Her brain is basically a series of error messages right now, and she feels completely dried out. Between the chosen ones and her own mounting frustration, she is just over it all. Looking around the crowded area, Harin realizes there are just way too many people for her comfort level. She just wants a moment of peace to collect her scattered thoughts. She spots a guy taking a smoke break nearby, looking way more relaxed than she feels right now. Must be nice to just stand there and not have a care in the world. Out of nowhere, Harin finds herself bowing deeply in apology, her face hidden in her hands. Whatever happened must have been super awkward because she is basically shrinking into the floor. She walks away, muttering to herself that this encounter was totally not helping her current state of mind. Seriously, can a girl just catch a break for 1 second today? Suddenly, a thought hits her as she stops in her tracks. She wonders if she has seen that girl somewhere before, and the realization starts to dawn on her face. She tries to shake it off, thinking there is no way they are going to bump into each other again so soon. But as her shoes click on the pavement, fate has other plans. Her eyes go wide as she looks up and sees someone familiar right in front of her. That moment of realization is like a physical jolt to her entire system. She finds herself standing near the trash bins, face to face with a tall guy in a brown jacket who just radiates cool. Classic accidental meeting trope right here. Harin immediately enters panic mode, her brain short-circuiting as she recognizes the person standing before her. She is practically vibrating with nervous energy, and it is honestly kind of adorable. Harin catches a glimpse of some familiar blonde hair that looks like it belongs in a shampoo commercial. The mystery girl turns around with a smile so bright it could light up the entire campus. She is dressed in a soft purple top, looking effortlessly stylish and perfectly put together. You can practically see the sparkles surrounding her as she approaches our girl with total confidence. Harin is just frozen, her eyes wide as she takes in the sight of her old friend. It is like seeing a ghost from the past, only much more stylish and bubbly. She is completely stunned, standing there while the world seems to blur around her. If you have run into an ex-friend, you know this feeling. They end up at a nearby cafe, where the atmosphere is much quieter than the busy campus outside. It is the perfect spot for an awkward reunion and some much-needed explanation. A tray with coffee and a slice of cake sits on the table, though neither of them seems particularly focused on the food. The tension in the air is palpable. Harin sits there, trying her best to look casual while feeling like a complete idiot for how she reacted earlier. She is really hoping the spring weather can distract from the awkwardness. The blonde girl, Daron, is the complete opposite, clapping her hands and laughing with pure joy. She is clearly thrilled about this reunion, even if Harin is still a bit shaken. Daron promises to come back for her, leaning in with a cheeky smile that shows just how close they used to be. She has this way of making everything feel easy. A quick flashback to their middle school days shows just how long they have known each other. Daron has always been the bright center of the group, leaving quite the impression. Back in the present, someone hands Harin a napkin, and she offers a small, forced smile in return. She is still trying to process everything that just happened in the hallway. Daron asks if Harin ended up going on a trip all by herself recently. It is a casual question, but you can tell she is genuinely curious about Harin's life. Harin wonders if the other two have actually kept in touch over all these years. It must have been quite a surprise for everyone to cross paths like this again. Daron leans in closer, while asking if seeing Jin again felt like some kind of fated reunion. Harin figures she probably had her reasons for staying away, so she did not want to pry too much. Sometimes it is better to leave the past where it belongs. She takes a bite of her cake, noticing that the two of them still seem incredibly close after all this time. It is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. The conversation turns to whether they were together at that cafe near campus earlier. Harin pauses mid-bite, her expression showing just how caught off guard she is by the question. Daron just sips her drink, looking totally unfazed while Jin suggests they should all go grab something real to eat. He has a way of being direct that is refreshing. Harin looks away, her mind racing with all the things she wants to say but cannot quite find the words for. This lunch date is getting more complicated by the minute. The blonde girl drops a bombshell by asking if the two of them have actually decided to get back together. Harin is absolutely trembling, her face turning a bright shade of red as she starts to panic. Her little chibai form is basically screaming internally at this point. She looks up with a massive blush on her face, clearly flustered by the suggestion. It looks like the secrets from their past are finally starting to bubble to the surface. Jin stays completely stoic, even though his private life is being picked apart right in front of him. Meanwhile, her friend is making the weirdest face possible. She lets out a goofy sound, clearly trying to lighten the heavy mood. The guy just wants to finish his meal in peace. He stands over their table for a second, reminding them that he is just here to eat. As he walks away, the girls watch him go. Our girl is still processing everything while her friend looks a bit shell-shocked. She stirs her drink, her mind racing with things she cannot say out loud. Nervous habits are so relatable when things get awkward. She finally looks up and admits that they really do look great together. It is one of those bittersweet compliments that hits deep. Outside, the guy is already on his phone. He is moving on with his day like nothing ever happened between them in that cafe. A sudden memory flashes back to a simpler time. A guy in a hoodie walks beside a girl with braids, surrounded by soft light. Back in the present, our girl gives a bright smile. She is trying her best to stay positive despite the complicated history they share. She jokes that at least she is still cute. Main girl energy right here. Honestly, that is the best way to handle a crisis. But the blonde friend is not smiling anymore. Her expression softens into something more melancholic as she stares off into the distance. She looks back on those childhood memories of seeing them together, realizing that a small seed of doubt was planted in her heart a long time ago. They sit across from each other, a single slice of cake between them. The cafe is quiet, but the air is thick with tension. Our girl stares into space, her mind clearly elsewhere. She is probably wondering how things got so tangled up between all of them. A heavy silence settles over the room as she tries to process the weight of her tangled feelings. Through the window, the guy is still standing out there. He is focused on his phone, completely unaware of the emotional trip happening inside. She takes a deep breath and tries to steady her heart, feeling like she is barely holding herself together right now. Suddenly, she breaks out into a laugh. It might be a little forced, but it helps break the tension that was getting unbearable. The two of them descend into a fit of giggles, looking like total chibis. Sometimes you just have to laugh so you don't cry. The friend points out that our girl was older than him. Age gaps always complicate the plot. She asks how she will deal with it. The mention of the past makes her freeze up completely, as she tightly grips the napkin between her trembling fingers. Finally, the blonde girl makes a big declaration. She says that starting today, she is officially cutting all ties with a guy named Ju-hae-san. She seems firm in her decision, but we all know that is easier said than done. Relationships are rarely that simple to end. But then she stops mid-thought. Her eyes widen as she hears something she was not expecting at all from her friend. The silence returns, and the weight of her words hangs in the air. You can practically feel her resolve wavering as things shift. She drops a total bombshell by asking if the guy is actually back in the country right now, which completely changes the mood of their conversation. Harin watches her friend with intense concern, fearing that the conversation is finally heading into some very dangerous territory. Her hand rests on the table, frozen in place. Everything she just said about cutting ties is about to be put to the test. The blonde girl leans forward in total shock, as she realizes her plan to move on might be ruined before it even started. If he really has returned, then every single plan she made to protect her heart is about to be destroyed. Our girl is feeling the pressure as she leans against the kitchen counter, her mind racing with a million thoughts. She catches a glimpse of the man standing beside her, and for a second, everything else just fades into the background. Clad in her favorite peach hoodie, our girl looks up with the expression that is half confusion and half genuine concern. He completely ignores her personal space as he reaches over her shoulder, making her heart pound as his arm brushes against hers. A simple domestic moment at the sink feels way more intense than it should when these two are in the room together. He looks down at her with those sharp eyes, clearly reading every little emotion she is trying so hard to hide. Suddenly, he reaches out and places a hand on her forehead to check if she is running a fever. Classic height difference trope right here. He asks her if she is feeling okay, but his casual tone does nothing to settle the butterflies in her stomach. Our girl turns away slightly, her lower lip trembling as she tries to process whatever news he just dropped on her. The full weight of his proposition finally begins to sink in, leaving her completely lost in a sea of confusing emotions. The guy reaches for a kitchen utensil, his calm and collected movements only adding to the intense atmosphere in the room. She knows she has a massive decision to make that will determine the entire future of their relationship from this moment forward. The silence in the kitchen is deafening as they both wait for someone to take the next step and break the tension. She finally finds her voice and asks if he really means Busan, because that is a massive commitment she was not expecting. He locks eyes with her in a silent challenge, making it impossible for her to look away or ignore the tension building between them. He waits for her response with an annoying level of patience, knowing full well that he has her cornered with his unexpected offer. She avoids his gaze entirely, needing a moment of isolation to gather her scattered thoughts before she does something she will regret. Sitting there in silence, she wonders if she is overthinking things, or if his invitation really meant something more than just business. He looks at her with this incredibly handsome, slightly mischievous smirk that makes it clear he knows exactly the effect he has on her. He is definitely using his looks to win this argument. They might be standing apart, but the shared domesticity of their matching slippers hints at a much deeper connection than they are currently admitting. Our girl is blushing like crazy now, looking totally flustered as she tries to keep a straight face despite his teasing attitude. He is playing her like a fiddle, and she knows it. The silence between them grows even heavier as they refuse to back down from this intense and unexpected confrontation in the kitchen. She takes a deep breath and puffs out her cheeks, preparing herself to fire back with a witty response of her own. Even with her back turned, the tension in the girl's shoulders is evident as she tries to ignore his playful behavior. She finally catches him in a blatant lie and makes sure to rub it in his face with a triumphant and playful scolding. A burst of genuine laughter escapes her as she throws her head back, the earlier tension completely evaporating in an instant. This is the most relaxed she has looked all day. She goes full chibai mode, making a hilarious angry face as she gets right in his personal space to tease him back. She makes a playful threat gesture across her throat, letting him know that if he messes up again, he is basically dead meat. She's definitely the one wearing the pants here. He looks genuinely stunned by her sudden burst of energy, his eyes widening as he realizes she is not intimidated by him anymore. She gives him a smug, sideways glance that screams, "I win." And for once, the tall guy is the one looking speechless. Someone has clearly made a massive mistake by letting a dangerous secret slip to the person who was never supposed to find out. She is absolutely panicking because she realizes she just destroyed months of careful planning with one single careless comment over the phone. Our guy is back in his room, looking completely stressed out as he runs a hand through his hair while listening to the bad news. He is completely overwhelmed by the gravity of his mistake and has no idea how he will ever manage to explain this to her. The blonde girl has a totally blank, soulless expression as she realizes the damage is done. Watch this slip-up ruin his entire week. He is absolutely certain that his target has nowhere left to run now, that he has finally tracked down her exact location. His voice drops to a chilling tone as he prepares to make a move that will catch everyone off guard. Across town, a different woman is indulging in some retail therapy, completely oblivious to the drama currently unfolding with the main couple. She has definitely gone overboard with her shopping spree, filling bag after bag with luxury goods until she finally feels satisfied. Her day of relaxation is going perfectly as she prepares to leave the store with all of her new treasures in hand. She is finally overwhelmed with pure joy and feels a sense of freedom that she has not experienced in a very long time. The clerk is just as excited as she is, and they share a wholesome little moment together as they wrap up the shopping spree. She gives a polite thank you as she finishes up at the register, which is the perfect goodbye, before she heads back to reality. The transaction is almost complete, and you can feel the weight of the long day starting to settle in as the excitement fades away. She decides to spend her money on these luxury items because she wants to take full control of her own happiness. She settles the bill and prepares to leave, because this was exactly what she needed to clear her head from all the recent relationship drama. The sun begins its slow descent over the city and casts a warm orange glow across the massive apartment complexes as the day transitions into evening. The physical weight of her massive shopping spree is finally catching up to her, and she looks completely exhausted after a long day. All she wants to do now is get inside her apartment to take a long shower and just crash into bed for the rest of the night. Her thoughts drift to a guy named Ju Ha-jin as she wonders if he is already home, and she looks pretty conflicted just thinking about him. Suddenly, a little girl nearby points her out and tells her mom that the auntie is acting weird. Kids really have zero chill in public. She steps out of the elevator and heads toward her front door because she is tired and just wants some peace away from everyone. She makes a firm decision right then and there that she is going to erase Ju Ha-jin from her life once and for all. But just as she makes that vow, she notices a man standing right in front of her door, waiting in the hallway. The guy turns around and it is him. Ju Ha-jin tells her to just wait until he finally graduates because things are going to change. He is definitely not making it easy for her. Her brain just completely short-circuits at the sight of him because she was not prepared to face him after making such a big resolution. He stares at her with a calm expression, as if he has been waiting for this encounter all day, and the tension in the hallway is thick. She stares back at him, and her expression is a mix of shock and confusion, because her plan to move on just hit a massive roadblock. Our girl finds herself trapped in a painfully awkward elevator ride with a total stranger. She stares intently at the closed doors while trying to ignore the heavy presence of the guy standing right next to her. She looks like she is about to melt into the floor from the sheer pressure. Her face is a mess of sweat and nerves while she tries to maintain a tiny forced smile to hide her absolute panic. This mysterious stranger finally shows his face, and he definitely has the cold look of a top-tier male lead. He stays silent, but his sharp profile alone is enough to make her heart start racing in fear. The atmosphere is so thick you could cut it with a knife as she stands there frozen. Images of the guy from different angles flash through her mind as she tries to process his presence. He is just standing there casually with one hand in his pocket, looking completely unbothered. He is wearing a simple gray, long-sleeved shirt that somehow makes him look even more intimidatingly cool. He gives her a quick sidelong glance, and the tension in the elevator spikes to a whole new level. Our protagonist feels like his eyes are boring holes straight through her soul. She starts sweating bullets as the silence in the elevator becomes absolutely unbearable. Even though she tries to keep it together, her nerves are completely fried by the scary guy standing right behind her. She is practically begging the elevator to hurry up and open so she can escape this nightmare. Her heart is racing, and she is gripping her bags tight while staring intensely at the metal doors. The moment those doors slide open, she bolts out like she is running a marathon. Her hair flies behind her as she tries to put as much distance as possible between her and that guy. Suddenly, the guy calls out to her and stops her right in her tracks. He looks a bit surprised by her sudden dash, and his expression shifts to something slightly more alert. She stops dead in her tracks when she hears a sudden sound behind her. Heavy silence fills the hallway as she slowly starts to realize that something might have gone wrong during her frantic escape. It turns out she was in such a huge rush that she did not even notice something falling from her hands. A close-up of the stranger's back shows him standing calmly in the hallway. The simple gray fabric of his shirt is visible as he waits for the girl to realize she stopped running. He holds out a small red luxury shopping bag that had fallen onto the ground. She is crouched down on the floor looking up at him with wide eyes and total disbelief. She has this hilarious look of pure confusion on her face as she tries to understand what is happening. Honestly, fair reaction right here. Her brain is basically short-circuiting at this point. She is wondering what is wrong with this guy and why he is being so helpful all of a sudden. He just looks down at her and says it is fine with a weary expression. He grips the white handles of the red gift bag firmly as he prepares to hand it over. The bag clearly belongs to a high-end boutique, which makes this whole thing even more embarrassing. Our girl feels a bit hurt by his cold demeanor, even though he is doing her a favor. She mumbles to herself that she is still human being with feelings as she reaches for the bag. She quickly snatches the bag and thanks him while looking away in total shame. All she wants to do now is run inside her place and hide under the covers forever. He suddenly locks eyes with her with an intensity that makes her blood run cold. It is obvious that he has something very important to say, and he isn't going to let her leave just yet. She is taken aback by his sudden change in attitude and stares at him with wide, questioning eyes. Something about the way he is looking at her makes her heart skip a beat. He starts giving her a lecture about the delicate artisan techniques used to create the luxury watch inside her bag. He explains how the watch hands are specially designed to look like they are floating in midair. He adds that she should at least know that much if she is going to be carrying around such expensive items. His words hit her like a ton of bricks and leave her completely speechless. He turns his back on her and starts to walk away without saying another word. The mystery guy is definitely hiding something important. She is left standing there staring at his retreating figure. She is left in the hallway with a stunned expression as she watches him disappear around the corner. Her mind is racing as she tries to make sense of his strange lecture about watches. Her brain completely short-circuits as she processes the bizarre interaction she just had with that handsome stranger. She stands there in total shock, wondering how her day could possibly get any more confusing than this. To get away from the stress of the elevator incident, she heads over to a local cafe called Daily Coffee. This is her safe haven where she can finally relax and vent about the weird guy she just met. Our girl is slumped over a table in the cafe looking completely drained of all her energy. She is telling her friend the whole story while feeling totally defeated by the day's events. Her friend with the pink hair is sitting across from her holding a smartphone. She looks skeptical and asks if our girl really encountered someone that unique at their school. Our protagonist leans back and asks her friend if she knows anyone who fits that description. She is hoping for some kind of clue that will help her identify the elevator mystery man. She starts gesturing with her hands to describe how incredibly tall and imposing the guy was. Her friend just watches her with a blank expression as she continues her frantic explanation. The pink-haired friend suddenly turns her phone around and asks if she is talking about this specific guy. She has a very knowing look on her face that makes our girl nervous. Her eyes nearly pop out of her head when she sees the photo of the guy on her friend's phone screen. She can't help but scream in shock because it is the exact same person she saw earlier. Her friend looks down at her phone and prepares to drop a major truth bomb about the guy in the picture. It turns out he is actually a legendary figure at their school that everyone is obsessed with. The stranger looks like a literal god in his professional photos, where he is posing with his shirt wide open. He has an intense and seductive energy that is completely different from the bored guy she met. She begins to wonder if that guy recognized her, since she is also a pretty big deal on Instagram. Despite her humble attitude, she actually has a massive following of 810,000 people. Our protagonist is totally stunned when she hears about the guy's major. She's a second-year fashion design student herself, but this news hits her like a ton of bricks. The shock actually drains the life out of her as she slumps over in her seat. Turns out they are in the exact same department, which makes things way more complicated. She wipes away her metaphorical tears while her friend watches on with a blank expression. Why does life have to be so dramatic over a simple coffee date? She stares off into the distance, her mind racing with all the possible ways this could go wrong. Influencer life is basically just constant second-guessing yourself. Her friend brings her back to reality by asking if she is heading to the freshman welcoming party tonight. She gives a half-hearted agreement because she knows she has to go. She sits alone at the cafe, staring off into space while trying to make sense of everything that happened earlier today. Even though the coffee is good, her mind is a million miles away as she replays the day's events. Her friend checks her phone, totally oblivious to the internal crisis happening right across the table. Some people just have it way too easy in these situations. Our girl finally asks the big question about whether the sophomores are going to show up too. She is clearly fishing for information about certain someone. The party is in full swing where the fried chicken is piled high and the energy is buzzing. The place is packed with students ready to let loose. Everyone clinks their glasses together for a massive toast as the drinks start flowing freely. It is the classic college experience through and through. While everyone else is hyped, our protagonist just chugs her beer with a deadpan look on her face. Honestly, that is a total mood for a crowded party. Her eyes drift over to the popular guy who is currently being mobbed by a crowd of admirers. He is like a magnet for every single person in the room. She realizes there is no way she is getting a word in with all those people around him. She settles for another drink and accepts her fate for the night. Needing a break from the noise, she stands up and tells her friends she is heading to the convenience store. Escaping the social pressure sounds like heaven. Back inside, the other girls like Che Yuna are having the time of their lives, laughing and flirting. The contrast between them and our girl is pretty sharp. The guy at the center of attention looks like he wants to be anywhere else as someone asks for a follow. The price of being too popular, honestly. Suddenly someone slams something down or makes a sudden move that catches some attention. The tension in the room is starting to simmer under the surface. Out in the cool night air, our protagonist looks back at the building with a mix of relief and lingering curiosity. She just wanted some peace and quiet. She is not alone because the mystery guy is already out there leaning against the wall with a cigarette. He looks like a character straight out of a movie. She can barely contain her surprise when she spots him and lets out a quiet wow. He turns his head and catches her staring, which is basically her worst nightmare. She bumps into him again and can't help but give an awkward, nervous smile while clutching her things tightly. It seems like fate is determined to keep throwing them together whether she is ready for another encounter or not. He comments on how small the world is, acknowledging that they keep running into each other. His voice is calm, but his words carry a certain weight. He flicks his cigarette and continues the conversation while she hangs on his every word. The atmosphere between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. Her mind goes completely blank as she tries to process the bombshell he just dropped on her. She stands there looking like a total deer in headlights, wondering if she actually heard him correctly or if she's just imagining things. She stands there with a blank stare, trying to process whatever he just said to her. Sometimes her influencer instincts just fail her completely in real life. He shrugs it off and says it does not matter if she does not want to talk. He is surprisingly chill about the whole awkward encounter. Just as she starts to find her voice, he turns around to head back inside after apologizing for potentially offending her. He is making clean exit. She panics and rushes forward because she can't let the moment end like this. Sprinting after your crush is a bold move for sure. She catches up and starts talking a mile a minute, trying to explain herself before he disappears for good. This is her chance to finally make a connection. He tells her to back up a little because she is practically standing on his toes. She was about to ask a favor, but the height difference is intense. Suddenly he freezes and his expression shifts to one of pure focus. He hears footsteps coming from the darkness nearby, and his guard goes right back up. A tiny mouse scampers across someone's shoe, breaking the romantic tension with a dose of reality. It is the last thing anyone expected to see in this alley. Both of them stand perfectly still, staring down at the little intruder like it is a ticking time bomb. The cool guy facade is definitely starting to crack. She looks up at him with a puzzled expression as he remains completely frozen in place. Mouse being the ultimate wingman is top-tier stuff. A piercing scream echoes through the night as things descend into absolute chaos. Our protagonist yells for him to wait as he seemingly loses his mind over the tiny rodent, until a massive crash rings out across the alleyway. Our boy is frozen in place, staring up at her with wide eyes after that chaotic collision. He probably did not expect his night to end with a girl literally falling into his lap. Our main girl is just as stunned, her face heating up as the realization of the situation finally starts to sink in. She is staring back at him, completely lost for words, as they find themselves in a classic romance trope. After that massive crash, the two of them are tangled up on the cold pavement in a total mess of limbs. He is propped up on his elbows while she is practically pinning him down, and for a second, the entire world seems to stop moving. Suddenly, her brain just completely short-circuits. She stares over his shoulder with this hilariously blank expression as her internal processor just stops working entirely. Shock quickly turns into pure misery as her eyes start to well up with big tears. Our boy can feel the panic rising when he sees her face crumble, realizing she is about to have a meltdown. She finally lets out a pathetic whine, crying that it hurts while he just sits there feeling completely helpless. Between the rodent scare and this crash, she has definitely had enough of this complicated night.